Welcome to the heart of Glencoe in the Scottish Highlands. It's mid-October now, and this is the time of year when I start getting excited. I just love those autumn colours and the beautiful browns and golden colours of the bracken. There's still a bit of green about, so there's just such a variety in the landscape, which is the best time of year, it really is. Now usually the last 2 weeks I'd be out every day or nearly every day snapping away trying to get some great shots, but for some odd reason this year it has been appalling. The weather has been appalling, so here's me being complaining about the lack of water in the waterfall. So I've only got myself to blame because now there's plenty of water about knocking about. And what happens is in October time you get the maximum sort of temperature difference between North America and South America, and what it does, it starts generating all these low pressures which then get fired over to the UK, hitting the west coast of Scotland on the jet stream. So the last few weeks it's just done nothing but rain. In fact, the only thing that's changed is the volume of rain. It's rained for 2 weeks, but this is the first day that's really nice, so I'm going to get out, and what I've decided to do instead of fight the weather is go with the weather. So what I'm going to do is today I'm going to show you my top 5 waterfalls in Glencoe. So come and join me and see what my number 1 waterfall is in Glencoe.
Here, I want more out of life. The longer we stay here, our boots get stuck in the mud. Let's pack up a life, baby, and call it a night. 'Cause the longer we stay here, the harder the fight. I said, yeah, call it a start by leaving behind what's breaking our hearts. I said, yeah, follow the spark. Ain't nothing but a one way.
So number 5 on my top waterfall locations in Glencoe, and this is a lovely little waterfall just off the road from Glenetic. So drive on the A82 towards the King's House. Just after Glenetic turning, you'll come into this lay-by here, just before the bridge. Pull into the lay-by and just watch it, because that road is really quite dodgy. And then cross over the road and you'll head onto this foggy ground. Keep walking straight to this foggy ground until you come to the River Ettive. And then just go a little bit to the right and you'll find this wonderful waterfall.
'Cause nothing is stronger than wanting what you might get.
So once you've crossed that boggy moor, it's very wet, and I will say I've gone up right over my wellies in one place. What I'm looking for is this bend in the river. You can see the river there. This is the River Ettive, and it just bends around as I come around. And you can see it just bends around a little bit going down Glen Ettive. So that bend there is where this waterfall feature is. And it is a great shot, and I'm just, because I've timed it right, I'm now getting some beautiful light. You can see the light on my face, it's just coming in now. Okay, I'm going to head on down and then let's see if we can get a good comp here. Okay, I've got a fairly decent comp I quite like actually. I've had to put the wide angle lens on here, so that's the 14mm lens. But what I've got is, I'm at 14mm, and that allows me to get the buckle in here with the River Ettive and the beautiful waterfall that disappears off into the distance, which is really nice. I've got crease there, that's the mountain there, and then that's Glen Ettive down there. Now there's a big dynamic range on this, so what I'm going to have to do, that sky and this water is blowing out. Of course, when I want the sun, I don't get it. When I don't want the sun, I get it. So this sun's right in front of my face now. It's going a little bit harsh. So what that's doing is giving a big dynamic range. So I'm going to bracket this. I'm going to take several shots, one for the sky and the water, and then just to brighten these areas up here. So I've got some texture and detail. I probably might focus stack as well. I might focus here and here and here. So there's quite a few photos, probably about 6 or 7 photos I'm going to need to merge together to get this shot. But it's quite nice. It's an unusual shot. You don't actually see it. I don't see it very often, but this is one of my top 5. Anyway, I'm going to do a bit of work here, get myself sorted out, get the Photoshop sorted, splice them all together, and if this shot works, here is the shot. So the next waterfall on my top 5 of waterfalls in Glencoe, come and park near the Clackegg. You can just get off the road here and park near the Clackegg, and we're going to walk on down and do what's called the Clackegg waterfall. Now you can actually park right next to the waterfall, but this is a bit of a clear way, and I will confess I did have a very angry dustbin lorry man shouting at me one day a few years ago because I'd parked in the wrong place. So what I tend to do now is I'll come to the Clackegg, get off the road and get out of the way. Because it's a single track, you need to keep these roads clear, so just be aware of that. So come to the Clackegg, and then you're going to walk back towards the glen, and that will get you towards this beautiful waterfall which is almost iconic. So after a couple of minutes walk, you get onto a straight bit of road, and then it's just where it joins the A82. And just at the top of that, you'll see a beautiful waterfall here, and this is one of my top 5. Now the temptation is to walk right to the top of the waterfall and then walk down. It's quite a big drop, and if you go, you're going to go into the drink a little bit, so just be careful. So my advice is, instead of going to the brow of the hill, you can see the brow of the hill there, there's a passing place, and then there's a no parking on the freeway side. Just before that, you'll see a track just going down to the right towards a rowan tree. Head on down there and then walk your way up to the waterfall that way. It's a bit slippy, but a lot safer than going straight down. Okay, let's go and see if we can find it. So after what was a very slippy, treacherous trek across the rocks, I finally got to the noise, and here is the noise because of this, the Clackegg Falls. It's just a wonderful shot, and the reason being is you just get the Anakedo in the background, and you can even get the Anakedo on the other side if I come around. So it's a fantastic shot. Just at the top there you'll see the Tears of Glencoe, or Elliot's Downfall. I did do a video of that a few months ago, so I'll put the link up the top there for you to go and watch that if you want. Now, the falls itself, it's really fast flowing this morning, so I've got to be very cautious. If I do too slow a shutter speed, it's just going to go pure white and pure milky, and this is the danger with that. And this is why sometimes this is a really good location. If there's not much water in the river, come to the Clackegg waterfall, because you can get this one here, and that really goes nice because it's just a gentle trickle. And that's the good thing with Glencoe, is no matter how high or low the water is, there's always a waterfall for you. You just got to pick and choose. And what comes into play sometimes when the water's fast flowing is not in place some other times, and then you get other ones that work better when it's really slow and low water. So that's the beauty of Glencoe. You've got so much choice, like a kid in a sweet shop. Right, I'm going to go and find a good comp here. The light's a little flat, but I'm going to see if we can get a good comp, and let's see how we get on. Okay, I've got a decent composition that I like, so I'm on the back of the camera now. I've got myself set up, and what I'm going to try and do, this is the main waterfall here, coming down here, and this is the extra section, and this is actually the salmon ladder. They built a salmon ladder so the salmon could get up past this waterfall. Not too many salmon in here nowadays, I'm afraid, but it was built quite a while ago. And then what I wanted is this tail tailing off all the way down the way. That's quite heavy this side, and that's going to be balanced by the Anakedo on the left hand side, so that should balance me up a little bit. So I really like that, it's quite nice. I've got the Anakedo on the right hand side here. Okay, a lot going on here. Obviously the sky is completely blown out, so big dynamic range here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some shots just for the slow shutter speed, not too slow because this is really fast flowing, and then I'm going to have to obviously do one, maybe a couple here just to get that sky sorted out. I might have to focus stack again as well, so let's see how we get on. Okay, I've taken several shots now and I'm going to have to go back to the studio, get into Lightroom, let's go and stitch them all back together again in Photoshop, and if that all works out for me, this is the shot. So this next location on my top 5 is an absolute classic, and it's one I found only recently, which is bizarre because it's so famous. I can't believe it's one of those like schoolboy things where it's something you should always know, but you just don't. And this is one of these. Anyway, I found it last year and it was fantastic, and it is called the Cauldron, and it is on my top 5. So to get to the Cauldron, what you've got to do is you've got to park at the King's House Hotel, and then you've got to walk up this section, so this road all the way leading up, and it's part of the West Highland Way, and it'll head up towards the ski centre, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to walk up to the crest, and then we're going to just cut across the moor again. We're going to end up, and there's a waterfall there, and that's called the Cauldron. So come and join me, let's walk on up there, again get the wellies on, we'll get across the bog and we'll go and try and find the Cauldron. Once you're near the crest of the road, just up from the King's House, this is when you want to kind of turn right a little bit and head over the moor. Again, as well as it's really boggy, and again there's no really clearly defined path, but if you get up fairly high and stay high, then hopefully all the boggy stuff is a bit lower down from you. So that's my tip, is kind of stay high. You have about a minute trek across and you'll stop hearing the waterfall, definitely before you see it, and then all of a sudden it'll just come into view. Okay, let's go and see if we get our feet wet. Okay, I'm on the back of the camera now, and I love this location, it's really great. So I've got the buckle here, I've got Glencoe down here, I've got Crease here, which is fantastic. And just look at this little arc of rock, and that guides the eye down to the buckle. And the way this water's flowing over here, it's all leading the eye down towards the buckle here. I've got a really bad storm coming, so I don't have long. Let me just darken this down a little bit for you. And I've definitely got this storm coming in my way. Can you see it coming in here? So I'm up against the clock, and it's by the sun, it's made everything quite dark, but it's quite a stormy, moody shot, so I don't mind it too much. And this foreground interest is another classic, it really is. And I think my idea of waterfalls in Glencoe is they've got to be part of a landscape scene. There's plenty of waterfalls in Glencoe itself, but for me, what makes a great waterfall, and that's probably the criteria for this 5 best waterfalls in Glencoe, is it is a waterfall sitting in a landscape scene and not just a waterfall on its own. There's millions of those in Glencoe, and if I wanted to I could take quite a few, but there's not many where you get this beautiful composition with the landscape behind it, particularly iconic shots like this. Okay, I'm going to bracket, definitely going to bracket. I'm going to have the dynamic range is massive here, and probably get focus stack as well. Okay, if this shot works, let's get it before it gets wet, and here we go. So I've driven to my next location on the top 5 waterfalls of Glencoe. And I know what you're all thinking. This should be number 1, but this isn't number 1 for me. This is not the best waterfall in Glencoe. And you've probably all guessed where I am, but it is the iconic Glenettive waterfall. So if you drive on up the top end of Glencoe, go past the Alton Fair and the Devil's Staircase, keep going on the straight bit, and then just before the King's House there's a turning to the right, and that's down Glenettive. And just down from there there's a wooded area. You park your car in that wooded area and you get to this location, which is the iconic image of Glencoe. And I guarantee if you Google images of Glencoe, you're going to find this one. It is very iconic, and it is a great shot, but it's not number 1 for me. So the problem with this location is it's so iconic, so well known, that I'm afraid it's turned into a bit of a bogfest. The footpath has got wider and wider over the years, and it is in such an awful state. I've never known it in such a bad state. It's too bad. This is all owned by the National Trust, so I don't know, maybe this might be one where you might say maybe a little small footpath getting in there just to stop the erosion, because it is really bad. So because it's so boggy and such a bogfest, it's time for a change of footwear. So off with the boots and on with the wellies. So here we are, the iconic waterfall of Glencoe, and it is a great location. It does just work. It's very cliched, but it just does work. You can see how boggy it is. It's just terrible, it really is. So it's such a famous location, it really is. And the volume of water coming down it today is just perfect. I'm so happy with that volume. It is just right. And just getting here this time of year, I've got the leaves are still on the trees, but they've gone a bit yellow, so there's a bit of colour and texture in here. It's obviously raining a bit, so it's gone very overcast. I might have to get the umbrella up here. But actually it's not too bad. It looks all right, so it might be a decent shot. Yeah, don't get me wrong, if there's a bit of light come out, that'd be fantastic. But still, and it's quite easy to sort yourself out here in terms of the composition. It's pretty much a given, really. You can adjust your feet a little bit to get the point of the mountain in the middle or off centre or whatever you want to do, but generally it's pretty much a forgiven shot, really. Okay, I'm going to get the umbrella up, I'm going to get the old tripod up, and let me get a composition that works, and then I'll show you on the back of the camera. Okay, I'm on the back of the camera now, and I'm just going to talk you through the composition a little bit. The water is just perfect. I'm really happy with this. This flow, because it's flowing all the way over the boulder, is going to look great when I slow it down. Now in terms of composition, you'll hear me, if you come on my tours, you'll hear me badgering on about the rule of thirds, and I'm not a massive fan of the rule of thirds. When it works it's brilliant, but when it doesn't, it doesn't. And this is a good example, because the buckle here is very pyramidal in shape, very symmetrical from this angle. And then you've got this waterfall here, and you've got this line of waterfalls and coming back up the way there. And that's almost like an upside down triangle, which matches symmetry with the buckle itself. And I think that works really great. I think that's a really nice balanced shot, and that's what makes this shot a really nice balanced shot. So it's not always the case that the rule of thirds works for you, and sometimes getting something that's balanced is just as good. Okay, I'm going to slow this down a little bit, but not too much, because again this water's flowing fast, and let's see what we get. And if this shot works out, here it is. Right next to that classic shot is the big waterfall itself, And it's a shame really, because this actual waterfall would be the most iconic shot of Glencoe and one of the classics of Scotland around the world, but its orientation is just not quite right. I'll turn you around and show you what I mean. So you can see the waterfall itself, and it's just coming up this location here, but the buckle's over here to the left. So what it does is it leads the eye away from the main event, which is the buckle there. It leads the eye away, and it's a shame really. I have seen some shots and some people try to stand on this ledge here and crowbar the shot in between the trees, but it's not a great shot, it really isn't. And that's just because it's guiding the eye away. If I could shift the buckle over or turn the waterfall over to the left, it would be something absolutely spectacular, but it just doesn't work, and it's such a shame. So this is it, the big reveal. #1 waterfall in Glencoe. And you might find wondering where I'm parked, but this is the road coming from Altnafe down the way towards the King's House, and there's a bit of a bend, and as you drive down from Altnafe towards the King's House, you'll see on the right hand side big kind of car park area, which is in fact the rescue helicopter pad. Now the gates are closed for this location. It used to be open and you could get on there, but the estate has closed the gates now. So my advice, you've got a couple of options. You can park here where I've parked. There's a little bit of a ledge, but you must keep the gates open. Just a word of advice, you must keep the gates open in case there is a rescue on. So don't block the gates. Also there's another lay-by on the other side of the road just across the way there, so you can go and park there. A word of warning, this is the A82 and it's a very busy road. It's the main road to the west coast of Scotland. It's a really busy road. Unfortunately a few years ago a photographer did get killed just at Altnafe there, just because he was focused on the photographs and not concentrating what he was doing, so it's sad. So just be careful if you are parking across the road here, just be really careful when you cross over and come back. And likewise, if you are parking here, what the best thing to do is to do a quick sort of 12-point turn, and then at least you're facing oncoming traffic, and then you can pull out quicker. Okay, that's the health and safety done. I'm going to head over. Now, unfortunately, because I've been trying to squeeze all these 5 locations in one day, the sun is slightly going down and I'm completely at the wrong time here. But I'm going to head over, go and have a look at the best location in Glencoe, and let's see how we get on. Okay, so once you've walked across the car park, there's like a lump of tarmac. Just keep heading straight down towards the bog and towards the buckle. And this is what you're heading towards, is the River Coople. This is the River Coople. It's quite interesting because this is where the Coople meets the River Etive, and the last one of the locations on one of the lists there was the River Etive, and that all meets up together and then shoots on down Glen Etive, which is quite nice. And this little section here is just the tributary where the water flowing this way goes down the River Coople into Glen Etive and out to Loch Etive, and then just up the road there is where the river changes and then heads down to Glencoe and then starts becoming into the River Coe and washes out into Loch Leven and Loch Linney. So cool, what we're going to do is we're going to head on down. I'm a bit nervous about this. Obviously the light is crap because I've got the light coming from behind the buckle, and so the buckle's all in shade. And I think actually if you were going to do this on a good day, you're probably going to get it early and get the sun coming up over this way so it's illuminating the buckle. But we're going to head on down. There's a little hut there called Jacksonville. We're not going to go to that, and it doesn't make it for a very good photo actually. It's a shame because it's not quite in the right place. But what we're going for is this waterfall down here. So let's head on down, and hopefully the river's not too full, which is always a bit of a worry for this one, but fingers crossed we're all right. Okay, here we go. more, you'll eventually arrive at the River Coopall here, and just down a little bit from Jacksonville to a little mountaineering lodge there. I can just see it from here. Unfortunately, the lodge itself doesn't make a very good photo because it's orientation of the road. But actually, when you come down a little bit, you get this drop-off waterfall here, and I suspected this was going to be a problem. It's got too much water in it. I can't believe it, there's too much water in it. This is a great location when the rivers start going low, unlike the last location where it was okay if it was flowing fast. This unfortunately was running a little bit too fast for me. But anyway, you can kind of see what we're trying to achieve. And what we've got is you've got the brook up here, and you've got the river flowing down here, and the waterfall leads the eye and guides the eye up to the mountain. I'm completely bonkers right now because the light down there is amazing, but that's no good because there's no good waterfalls down here. So whose idea was it to do the 5 best waterfalls? Anyway, I'm obviously at the wrong time. The sun is right behind the mountain, so the mountain is full on its shade. So we're probably going to have to bracket this a little bit. And normally again, you would come here nice and early, get the sunrise coming down, just hitting the mountain here. With these fluffy clouds, it would be fantastic in the morning shoot. So not a great location for sunset at all. But anyway, it's good to show you where it is. And what I'll probably do is I'll show you my photo, what I normally get from here, one of my great shots from here. We'll find a composition. This might be more filler than killer. But we'll find a quick composition, take a snap, and then I'll show you my good photo. Well, okay, wow, that was a great shot at the end there as well, wasn't it? So that's my top 5 waterfalls of Glencoe. Tell me what you think. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? Do you know any that are better? Let me know. There is a criteria. For me, it has to be a waterfall in a landscape scene. It can't just be a waterfall on its own. But if you disagree, please let me know in the comments below. If you think the order was wrong again, let me know. I can't thank you enough for watching. It was a pleasure to have you with me. If you liked what you saw, just give me that thumbs up. It's always a pleasure. And if you really like what you see, if you go down the subscribe button, and if you tickle on the bell, you'll get a notification every time I post. It's every few weeks because I'm a busy man, but I love doing them, so please come along with me on this journey. Okay, I think we did a great job there. I'm back home for a cup of tea and a little soak in the hot tub. Fern, let me land the drone. No, let me land the drone, Fern. Let me land the drone. Fern. Oh, let me land the drone.